First of all, I should say I'm really doing this for me. I live here in South Carolina, and I think it's really important that when candidates want to run for an elected office, especially one as important as the presidency, they talk about issues that are important to local voters. And here in South Carolina, where we've seen this once in a millennium flood and a lot of other climate change impacts, where our whole coast is at risk in the next couple of months from expanded offshore drilling and seismic testing, I think this is a really important issue for candidates to speak to in South Carolina, is what their plan is for climate change, clean energy. And I'm not alone in this either. I mean, even if you listen to our governor, Nikki Haley, for example, she's out on the campaign trail today supporting Marco Rubio, who she just endorsed for president. And she talks about the giant millennium floods from back in October, when she talks as well about what matters to her and what matters to voters in South Carolina.
South Carolina stepped up in a way that showed the entire country and the world what strength and faith and grace looked like.
So I think this is really an issue that is on people's minds, and the candidates, unfortunately, are mostly just not getting to it. And so I've been following them around from event to event over the last couple of days, trying to get a question in, mostly not
Cruz and Marco Rubio, who are on the agenda for a little later tonight. So we're going to go in and see if we can catch them
succeeding. I did actually get to shake Jeb Bush's hand for just a minute.
Someone asked me, I did. We're here to ask you about climate change.
But didn't really get to interact with him a whole lot. And then a lot of the other candidates like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio in the last day or two have really just made big speeches from these stages, sort of like a rock concert or like a big celebrity speaking. And so there hasn't been much of an opportunity for them to come out and meet voters, meet me, meet you, and interact with them and take questions from the people that they're meeting, which I think is really too bad. Because the second reason I'm really doing all of this is for you. Not just you who's watching this video, but nearly 200,000 of us have signed a petition to these GOP candidates asking them to lay out a detailed plan on climate change and stop denying the basic science of the issue. And I know most of you don't live here in South Carolina, but your concerns are important. This is a national election, and I really think these candidates should be listening to all the people out there who are calling for action on climate change. And so even though I'm not having a lot of luck getting to them in person, I want to make sure you know that we are delivering their signatures to all the campaigns today. They'll have them all by the South Carolina primary. And I think that's an important part of this process, that we make ourselves seen as a climate movement in this big national election. And that really brings me to the third reason why we're doing all of this, which is that we're doing it for all of us. We're all in this movement together for climate action. It wasn't just Columbia that was hit by a big storm last year. A number of different communities have been impacted by climate change. I know in Texas, where Ted Cruz is from, there were huge floods last spring. In Florida, there are huge issues with sea level rise. We've seen the epic drought in California, and there have been climate impacts from coast to coast. So everywhere these candidates go, they should be hearing about climate impacts, and they should be able to lay out a clear and articulate plan for how they're going to deal with that and adapt to climate change to keep fossil fuels in the ground. Because last year alone, NASA and NOAA tell us that there were at least 10 major climate-influenced weather events, that each one of them cost something like $1 billion in damages, and collectively they cost over 155 American lives. And that is a really serious issue, something that our presidential candidates need to deal with, should be speaking to, and at least for the moment, so far, mostly are not. And that's what I think makes this campaign, the GOPrimary Deniers campaign, so important, and why we're also asking for your support for it today. I know sometimes in the kind of circus of presidential politics, it's not that easy to tell whether or not we're having an inflect, and it can kind of be confusing or hard to see. But the honest truth is that reporters are talking more about climate change this year than they ever have on the campaign trail. We've seen big proposals from a number of the candidates about energy policy, about fossil fuel drilling on public lands. Even in the Supreme Court debate now, they're talking about the Clean Power Plan and carbon rules as an integral part of how they would pick a justice. So that's all evidence that our movement, our push to make climate change a big part of the debate in the presidential election, is really having a big impact. And your voices really are being heard, and I think that matters. And we want to stick with it. Climate change. So if you can, please chip in a few dollars to support the work that we're doing. Know that it goes to support all the great stuff that's going on here at Environmental Action, whether we're fighting for endangered species or fighting climate denial on the campaign trail. Your support is all the support that we have, and so we really count on our members to make this stuff happen and make it possible for us to do the work. And we thank you for it. So from the campaign trail here in South Carolina, I'm Drew Hudson. Thanks again for being part of Environmental Action.